Hey students, welcome back to Buddy. Let's review chapter 26 notes. Okay, so little T is learning that Rover is very different from Buddy. He's hyper and he doesn't listen. Little T does not like the weather in Mississippi. His flying tricks no longer work. Little T understands that everything is gone. There's no place to fly to. Little T writes a letter to Jamila and the letter gets returned. Insufficient address. Insufficient means not enough information. And little T says no to drugs. Jerome tempts him to meet behind the Winn-Dixie, the supermarket. And little T says no, right? Okay, let's find out about what's going to happen in chapter 27. The next time Mrs. Watson calls me up to her desk, it ain't about a letter. This time, she asks real quiet, "Why, I ain't done my homework." I shrug my shoulders and look out the window. She says, "I was doing so good at the first of the year, and now I ain't." She says, "Is anything troubling me?" And I say, "No, ma'am." She says, "Well, go finish this homework now. You'll need the study sheet for the test." I'll look it over after lunch. I sit back down at my desk. What is the capital of Peru? The question says. Who was the first explorer to cross the Andes? List the three main exports of Brazil. I put my head down on my desk. I fall asleep. When I wake up, there's a wet spot on the paper, and I've missed my lunch. There's a lot on little T's mind, huh? The day before Mardi Gras, and I'll be explaining Mardi Gras during our Zoom session, Mama leaves out, and she goes out to buy a king cake. Okay, that's a traditional cake that they eat and bake during Mardi Gras, and I'll be showing you images of king cake and what it symbolizes and why it's important. Okay. Mardi Gras is actually a celebration, mostly for Christians and Catholics throughout the year. It's the last day to celebrate and to eat and to drink and eat good food before the season of Lent, where people give up things before Easter. So, but I'll explain this to you, okay? I'll definitely explain it to you during a Google Slides presentation. So Mama goes out. She wants to buy king cake, but they're in Mississippi, not New Orleans. I'll start. The day before Mardi Gras, Mama leaves out to buy a king cake the minute I come home from school. "You watch Tanya and Terrell," she says, "and I'll go find us a king cake. We might as well get whatever Mardi Gras we can get." Tanya says she wants chocolate cream, and I say I want plain. And Mama says we don't get to choose. She says she'll just get what she can get, and we better be happy. And that's the filling inside the king cake. Okay, so you can have different types of fillings. But ain't nobody in that town sells king cake. She's gone a long time, and when she comes back empty-handed, we can't believe it. We're sitting at the table that night, and Daddy's saying, "What made Mama think they've got king cake in a place like this?" And Mama says she hasn't ever been anywhere in her life where they don't have king cake. And Daddy says, "That's because you ain't never been out of New Orleans." And Mama says, "Well, where all you been, Mr. World Traveler?" And Daddy says, "You forgot I was in the service. I've been all kinds of places." And Mama says, "So I guess you're smarter than everybody else sitting at this table." And Daddy starts to say something back, and then he stops. Everybody at the table gets real quiet. I look at Daddy, and I see he's looking at Mama. "It's going to be all right," he says to her. "We're going to make it." Mama nods her head a little bit and pinches up her lips. And then she says, "It's not about the cake." She turns her head and looks at me. It's about little T. All the eyes swivel around to look at me. What about little T? Daddy says, and I know he's thinking he ain't got a stick in this apartment. I was going to wait until after we ate, Mama says, but I might as well go ahead now. She looks toward the window for a second, then starts up again. I didn't go out just to buy king cake. I went by little T's school, too. What's happening? Did Mrs. Watson call Mom? She looks back at me. They called me this afternoon, she says. She ain't taking her eyes off me. Ain't none of them taking their eyes off me. They say he hasn't been at school today. They say he's getting F's. Little T cut school and he's getting F's? I feel like I'm sitting in a fire. I feel like the end of the world has come. Is that true, son? Daddy says. I look down at my hands resting on top of my napkin. My fingers are all twisted in a knot. I can't hardly move, but I'm just barely able to nod my head. Look at me, Daddy says. I manage to raise up my head and look at his shirt. Look me in the eye. I lift up my eyes and there's his face. There are his eyes looking straight at me. Where did you go? He says. The mall, I say. And what did you do at the mall? Walk, sit. Who were you with? Nobody. He's looking at me hard. His eyes are all squinched up. Tanya's eyes are big as saucers. Baby Terrell picks up his spoon and throws it on the floor. Mama bends down and picks it up and wipes it off. Is that the truth, Daddy says? Yes, sir. Go to your room. The rest of us are going to finish eating. I stand up. My chair makes a noise. I start to push it back to the table, and then I give up. I go in my room, and I shut my door. I lay down on my bed, and I can't believe it. I start to cry. I cry and cry and cry and cry. I stop for a while, and then I start up again. I cry with my pillow on my head and without it. I curl up in a ball, and then I flop around like one of Tanya's cloth dolls. I cry quiet, and I cry loud. Wow. Students, this is the first time little T cries in this story. He doesn't cry when he can't find Buddy. He doesn't cry when he loses Grandpa T. He doesn't cry when he can't have a dog. So the emotions finally catch up to him. And he just lets it out. And he cries. And all that time, nobody comes in the room, not even Tanya. When I'm finally done, it's way past bedtime, and I need to go to the bathroom. The whole apartment is quiet. I open my door, and it don't squeak a bit. I do my business, and when I'm back in the living room again, I nearly jump out of my skin. There's Grandpa T stretched out on the sofa and looking straight at me. My heart stops. He sits up, and then my heart starts beating again because I see it ain't Grandpa T at all. It's Daddy. Son, he says, sit down. That dog Rover ain't in his wire cage. He's all curled up at Daddy's feet. When I sit down, he lifts up his head and his tail goes whack, whack. What do you want in life, son? Daddy says. I don't answer. Well, whatever it is, skipping school ain't the way to get it. I still don't say nothing. Tomorrow, I'm taking you to school. I'm going to walk with you to see the principal. I'm going to walk with you to see your teacher. But I ain't always going to be around to take those hard walks with you. This is just practice for when you have to do it by yourself. He waits for me to say something, but I ain't got nothing to say. I'm going to miss some work, because he has to walk little T to school. And it's going to cost us some money, so you've got to pay us back. I raise up my head and look at him. I'm going to New Orleans this weekend. I've decided I'm going to start mucking out the house. Mama don't like it, but I've decided I'm going to do it. And you're going to help me all day Saturday. On Sunday, you're going to sit in this apartment and you're going to study. You can't make up those tests, but you can learn what was on them. Okay? Daddy's decided he's going to go back to New Orleans. He's going to muck out that house. He's going to fix it, rebuild it, and Mama's against it. Mama wants to stay in Mississippi. She wants nothing to do with New Orleans and hurricanes anymore. But Daddy wants to fix up the house because it belonged to his father, Grandpa T. And little T is going to help him on Saturdays. But on Sundays, little T is going to have to study. Okay, let's go back to the text. I'm sorry. It's just if I was in the classroom, we would be breaking this down. So I hope you are all getting the plot here. Every time I go to New Orleans from now on, you're coming and you're working. You're working hard and you're working for free. And every Sunday from now on, you're studying and you're studying hard. Ain't no F going to come through the door of my house. Ain't no skipping school going to sit at my table. Okay, so Daddy's made a declaration. In his house, he's not going to accept F's or skipping school. He laid down the law. This is unacceptable. He won't tolerate it, okay? I'm shivering in the cool, but I don't move. You understand what I'm saying? Yes, sir. You got anything you need to tell me, son? I'm quiet for a little while, then I find my voice. Some of the brothers are smoking weed behind the Winn-Dixie after school. They asked me to come, but I ain't done that, Daddy. And I won't. I promise. I can tell Daddy's looking hard at me in the dark. Can I trust you, son? Yes, sir. He nods. Anything else? Anything else you want to tell me? Well, when I saw you laying on the sofa, I thought you were Grandpa T. I can't believe it. My voice gets all bumpy when I say that. Daddy don't say nothing for a while. Then he sucks in a deep breath. Go on to bed, he says. It's cold. I stand up. Rover hops off the sofa too. Daddy watches me walk to the door of the bedroom. When I push it open, Rover zips inside and jumps up on my bed. I don't push him off. I lay down beside him. I hear Daddy's voice talking to Mama in the other room. I hear Rover snuffling his nose once or twice. I put my hand on his back and I go to sleep. Okay, let's look at the notes. Okay, it takes place at Little T school and then the apartment, that's the setting. Little T is doing poorly in school. He's getting F's and he did cut school for a day. Mama is upset that she can't find king cake in Mississippi. And the family, well, they're missing celebrating Mardi Gras. And Daddy talks to Little T about the importance of studying and working hard, and that failing school is not an option. It's not a choice. And here's the quote. Ain't no F going to come through the door of my house. Ain't no skipping school going to sit at my table. Stop and jot. Daddy says, ain't no F going to come through the door of my house. Ain't no skipping school is going to sit at my table. Yet, Little T is going through a lot right now. Write a note to Little T. What advice would you give him? Okay? What type of advice? First of all, he needs to start passing his classes, right? He's going to have to muck out the house in New Orleans on Saturdays. He's going to have to study all day Sunday. Any strategies you would like to give him? Suggestions how he can organize his time or his week? Remember, he cried for the first time in this chapter. Maybe a suggestion on like how he can deal with his feelings and his grief. I know this is a lot to ask of you all, but I know you guys can do this. I know you can give him some advice. So think about it and then give me a really good stop and jot answer. And I look forward to talking to you in Zoom and meeting the author, M.H. Herlong. I'm thinking maybe by June 11th, we'll be ready to meet Mrs. Herlong. Okay, and we can talk to her about the book. Okay, ciao.